Who wants to see 2 hours of George Clooney trying to suck his own dick? Jay Kelly is Noah Baumbach's newest film. It's a bit of a love letter to Hollywood, to acting, to filmmaking, and to pompous assholes you call your boss who pretend they're your friend. Yes, Noah Baumbach, who used to be the indie comedy guy, the Squid the Whale, Margot at the Wedding, Greenberg, Kicking and Screaming, all the classics of insufferable college douches, this was their guy. But now Baumbach, or Mr. Greta Gerwig, he got that Netflix money. And Netflix, well, that's a higher tax bracket. So he's got to play with characters in a higher tax bracket. But Jay Kelly feels quite a bit different from Baumbach's more sardonic fare. It's actually sincere. And Noah Baumbach doing sincere is troubling. George Clooney is Jay Kelly, a Hollywood icon who's just wrapped his latest film. Jay is 60 years old now and he's reflecting on his career and his life. A film festival in Tuscany, Italy wants to award him with a career tribute, but Jay thinks it might be time to hang it up. Naturally, Jay's manager Ron, played by Adam Sandler, and his publicist Laura Dern can't let their meal ticket get away. They have to convince Jay to stay in the game, so they all travel to Italy, where Jay will accept this Lifetime Achievement Award. But that drums up a lot of demons from Jay's past, namely how he got his career, who he left behind in his career, and how he's treated his children. Ultimately, this trip becomes a huge trip down memory lane, where Jay has to ask the tough question, is he a good person? So that's the big question of Baumbach's new movie. Is a Hollywood icon, a celebrity, someone who's been in showbiz for 35 years, who's touched hearts and minds, not unlike George Clooney, is he a good person? Well, that all depends. Not on the actual answer of the question, but whether you, as the audience, care about the answer. Because when it comes to celebrities and actors and icons, I don't really care if they're good people. I mean, we should remember that they are people, but questions like that don't really enter into it. We only receive actors one way. We're the viewer, the voyeur. We either get a character on screen or the prepackaged, manufactured version of the real person. So already Baumbach's question is kind of trite. And since there's a bit of a meta element in this film, with George Clooney being an actual actor and icon and Hollywood mainstay, are we supposed to be asking this about Clooney? Like, sure, I'm pretty sure he's decent. I know it seems like I'm a little tripped up by this movie, but it is kind of the essential thesis of what this is about. And so, if you're already struggling with that thesis, well, the rest of the movie becomes a bit tough to sit through. George Clooney is a fine actor and an excellent movie star, so it's not the worst thing in the world to spend 2+ hours in a dark theater watching him, but is Jay Kelly, the character, compelling for him? I'm not so sure. Look, I don't want to knock this film for having a one-percenter as a central character. That is bad film criticism. That is no way to critique the film. So yes, it's tough to watch a guy who can take a private jet everywhere, has servants at his beck and call, and gets entire auditoriums to clap at a retrospective for him. But I have to be fair with Baumbach and take this movie for what it is. It's both an examination of how celebrity can ruin you, but also a celebration of how celebrity is kind of awesome. And thank God we at least have the Adam Sandler character, Ron, as his manager. Because Adam Sandler, in all his schlubby glory, is as close to an everyman as this movie has. And slowly, he and the audience starts to realize that, well, Jay Kelly is kind of a dick. We go deep into Kelly's past with characters from his life. None better than Billy Crudup as his ex-acting buddy, who has a bone to pick with a certain part he got. That's at the beginning of the film, and it's an excellent 10-minute sequence that establishes this movie as something thornier and more complex than it actually becomes. Because for all Baumbach's attempts at surreality and flashbacks and deconstructing a celebrity, ultimately he becomes a little too seduced by the big budget Hollywood apparatus that allows him to make this film. This is a gorgeous looking movie shot on 35mm. The opening shot is a giant wander through a film set. We get scenic views of the Italian countryside and big lavish parties. And Clooney looks great doing all of it. But no matter how hard Baumbach tries to make this guy a bit edgier, a bit more complicated, he constantly falls into the trap of falling in love with this guy and his lifestyle. Because only a film about a figure as big as George Clooney, i.e. Jay Kelly, could allow Baumbach to shoot in Europe and on 35mm and get Final Cut and have all these great actors. Besides Sandler and Dern, there's also, Who the fuck else is in this? There's also Stacy Keach and Riley Keough and Patrick Wilson, among others. And if this was really Baumbach satirizing Hollywood, really digging deep into what makes a guy like Jay Kelly so out of touch, wouldn't there be more meta elements about George Clooney himself? Wouldn't there be more commentary about Clooney's career? It always keeps coming down to Jay Kelly realizing he's kind of mean, he kind of uses people, and he's kind of failed the people he needs most. Baumbach's earlier work dealt with characters we could identify with: college students, kids whose parents are getting a divorce, failed artists. And with this, he's asking us a lot to identify with this guy, even if he is George Clooney with that $1 million smile. Jay Kelly is Noah Baumbach suppressing his more sardonic elements and giving us something actually sincere. Unfortunately, it can't find the balance between deconstruction of celebrity and the celebration of cinema. It instead just looks like a giant tribute to how awesome George Clooney is, and how ultimately, even though celebrity sucks, well, it's still something for us plebeian masses to consume and clap our hands at. So, I give Jay Kelly a forgettable 2.5 stars out of 5. If you like this review, please like and subscribe or follow me on Letterboxd at RamirezS316. There's a tribute at the end of this to Jay Kelly, which is just a series of George Clooney clips, so it's basically a tribute to George Clooney. And there's suspiciously a lot of clips of The Peacemaker, the 1997 forgotten actioner with Nicole Kidman. You remember The Peacemaker, right? George Clooney doesn't really have that many bangers.